when it was the KJJ battle, and I'm still bummed we didn't get to have that spring game. Cade on one side, JJ on the other, battling it out to really definitively see. But I mean, we all saw it in the Hawaii game, right?
Oh yeah.
And then from then on, it was his job on merit, as Harbaugh said. And so I guess from a ceiling perspective, I think that was like a big argument for JJ, is that the ceiling could be as high as national title with JJ, and obviously keeping what Cade did going in terms of beating the rivals and having that high win total, but then kind of taking that next echelon. Do you see 2023 as potentially being that year where you break that ceiling a little bit?
I absolutely do. I just put out predictions for every team in the Big Ten, at least for the regular season, and I have Michigan going undefeated again. Which, I mean, I know people probably would look at me and say Michigan homer. Of course, he's going to do that. Not really, because I thought that Michigan was going to go undefeated last year. I said this a lot on Locked On Wolverines, that I really didn't see a loss on the schedule except for maybe Ohio State, but I thought Michigan at that time was going to beat Ohio State. I demurred the week of the game because of Blake Corum's injury, but I digress there. But it's one of those things now where I look at it and I say, really the challengers to Michigan at this juncture are Penn State and Ohio State again. And you can sit there and say Penn State's defense playing in Happy Valley. When Michigan has been a better team than Penn State, it has gone to Happy Valley and won every time. When it was an even team, it lost once in 2019. When they spotted them 21 points, really should have won that game,
right?
But didn't. When it's been a lesser team, it's lost there the one time under Jim Harbaugh and James Franklin. And Ohio State, I look at that and I say, and I razzed my colleague over at Buckeyes Wire. I haven't even told him. It's totally mean, but which is bad for a guy wearing a Jesus is King hat, to be honest. But it's because he put out his predictions of what bowl games teams are going to. He put Ohio State going to the playoff and Michigan going to the Rose Bowl. And to me, it's like, what non-homer? I can understand, because I mean, Ohio State's number 2 in the SP plus, but when a team has beaten you twice in a row, and convincingly so, and you lose your starting quarterback who was a 2-time Heisman Trophy contender, and you have to go and play on the road, there is nothing that, and then the other team returns their entire team that beat you handily. There is no part in which you should look at that and say, like from a logical standpoint, that Ohio State should beat Michigan, unless that logic that you're using is vibes. So,
right. Yeah. No. Well, I think that's really big. Is that almost every quarterback in the Big Ten is going to be a new one, or like broken in, or maybe they've played relief duty in a game once or twice. But like Ohio State is starting a new quarterback, Penn State starting a new quarterback. So I think that when you look at that trend, I agree. I think it very well could be 12-0. And I predicted 11-1 with a 3-point loss to Columbus in Columbus. And then like the day before the game, I changed it to Michigan, because I had a feeling like it was going to be another one of those.
Yeah, and I certainly didn't once with the Blake Corum injury. I had some faith that they'd have some things, and then even being on the field, they didn't really have anything that they were doing that really made me change my mind, except for that Michigan just hung around. And it was kind of like, the more that Michigan, it was really in game, that it was kind of like, around halftime, it was kind of like, I think I said to someone during halftime of the game, I said, this kind of feels like the opposite of 2016, right? Michigan had a nice little lead at the half, and you felt pretty good. And that's kind of how Ohio State fans were feeling. I think that was kind of the moment where I was like, I think this is going to be the reverse 2016. And because I saw, it's like Michigan was starting to get a little more confident and all of that. And that's also for the same reason why I'm not going to say Ohio State is going to be able to go and win. And because none of these players on Ohio State now know what it's like to do anything other than to lose handily to Michigan, which is what Michigan players were used to for all of those really decades. And Ryan Day, we've seen him in the Michigan game coaching a shell for 2 years, and Michigan be more creative. I can't see any reason why that won't change, because you get a little, it's either you're in a shell or you're calling a perfect game or you're too aggressive. And honestly, if he's going to go one way or the other, he's probably not going to call a perfect game. He's going to be too aggressive, and that's going to also play into Michigan's hands. So they'll play the game, and we'll know. But I even said on the field and in Columbus, I said, if Michigan wins this game, they'll also win in 2023. And I feel pretty confident in that. So